Hey everybody, this is Rustin with Metalholic Radio and the Examiner. With us today, Andrew Whiteman of Red Tide Rising. How you doing, brother?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. You're from my old stomping grounds there in Denver. Miss Denver a lot.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
Beautiful city, although what is it with Denver drawing such tragedy to it? The Dark Knight thing, the Columbine thing, though, is like everything that seems to go tragically wrong in America lately keeps happening in our old... right there in that beautiful city. It's terrible.
I know. We don't understand it either. There's definitely a lot of negativity around the area, but we kind of just deal with it and make the best of it, I guess.
Well, let's talk about exciting stuff, not the demoralizing stuff. Let's talk about music.
No.
Red Tide Rising. You guys have put out your new EP, Inferno, getting a lot of airplay all over the place. I know our good friends and brothers over at Maximum Threshold are very high on you guys. I know our own Dia is a very big fan. So for everybody who hasn't heard of Red Tide Rising yet, give us a little bit of backstory on the band.
Oh, Red Tide Rising was started by my brother Matthew and I about 4 years ago after him and I were finished with our little cover band thing that we had in elementary and middle school. So we just built on that, and we were still in the beginning, did some covers, and then we started writing our own material. So we released our first CD, which is called Perfect Enemy, about 3 years ago. And then after that, started working on the Inferno EP, which released in February of this year. And since that time, just playing shows and stuff, we've sort of built up this reputation in Denver, and now nationwide with our last tour that we were on. So things have just been building up, and we're just moving on to the next level now. So we're really excited with all the progress that we've made, especially in this last year.
Absolutely. And you guys, the tour you're talking about, Hatebreed and In This Moment, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, mostly In This Moment. The last show we got to do with Hatebreed. But the In This Moment crew is fantastic to tour and work with. Absolutely wonderful. We could have not asked for a better first tour.
Absolutely. In This Moment, great people, and a great band, of course, too. For those who haven't heard your music yet, and obviously we just played a track off of Inferno, and we're going to play some more, but how do you describe your music to people?
It's, we like to think it's more on the hard rock side, not quite metal, but it's getting there. The new stuff that we've been working on is getting really intense, so we might just cross into that metal genre. But, Matthew's vocals are what it is. That's all it's about. He's got such a deep voice for, just being 17.
Right.
And a lot of people have compared him to, Sully Erna from Godsmack. A little bit of Ivan Moody in there. And it's funny, on one of the shows within This Moment, someone came up to their merch guy, and they're like, hey, where's the band that sounds like Volbeat? So we've got, a little bit of that, too. But... it's that deep, smooth voice that he has that, that's what makes it. And, I try and, the drummer, Matt, and I, we try and write stuff that, will complement that and, just gets people into it so they can headbang and have a good time.
Absolutely. Now, you're a couple years older than he is, right?
Yeah, I'm 20.
Right. So now you are the guitarist in the band. For you as a guitar player, who sort of influenced your sound and initially made you want to pick up a guitar? Was there sort of that moment of epiphany where you were like, that's what I want to do?
Definitely. And that moment was the first time I heard AC/DC.
Nice.
I heard them, and of course I was like, oh man, I have to go check these out. And, Angus Young, that's the whole reason I picked up guitar right there. Back when we did the covers and stuff, I bugged the crap out of my parents for weeks to go get a Gibson SG and stuff. So big influence was definitely Angus Young. And then, I got into the Metallica phase and stuff, so Kirk Hammett came along. So really it's, big time Angus Young, big time Kirk Hammett. Those are definitely the top two.
Nice. Now, when you were doing the little mini tour there within This Moment, did you get a chance to sit down with Chris Howarth and whatnot and talk guitars and stuff?
Yeah, we did. There's a couple times where, he'd come to the green room with us. We talked a little bit. I think what sparked his interest a little bit was I was unpacking our guitars, and both bands use Schecter guitars, so there was some common ground to start talking about. So, kind of just talking about the guitars, talking about, influences and stuff. There's some things that, he sort of taught us, like how to make things a little bit heavier. So we definitely had a couple of good conversations with Chris.
Nice. Well, and it's always great when you get to play with these guys who have had a lot of experience touring, playing with other bands, because every time you get to meet another guitar player who's had that much experience, you can't help but absorb some of the stuff that they've learned over the years. That's the great gift you get from other musicians.
Definitely. And their bassist, Travis, sat down with Sean, to just talk about, like, some picking techniques and stuff just on the bass. So all of them have been really cool about, just sitting down, like, hey, let's share, this little bit of knowledge that we have, and just kind of mingle together and just build that relationship up.
So what was the best moment of that tour for you guys?
I think it was probably the last show that we played, which was in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and that was the one that Hatebreed was headlining on.
Mm-hmm.
And during our whole set, like a couple times on the tour, some of the members from In This Moment would, like, catch a song or two during our set, but this was the first song, or the first show that they actually were on the side of the stage for, like, the entire set, and just, we would look over, and I think it was just a really cool feeling to look over and see that they were digging our sound and our stage presence and our show that we were putting on. And then for Matthew, Jamie Josta from Hatebreed came out when we did we do a cover of the song Bodies Live,
right?
Because if we're in the new market, it's a song that everybody knows, so everybody can get into it.
Absolutely.
So we started that up, and Jamie Josta came out, and he really dug it, and he could just, all it did was just stand there and clap and wow, So I think that was a very proud moment for Matthew, because that's someone that Matthew really looks up to.
That's always great stuff, man. So let's talk a little bit about Inferno, the EP. I know you've done some previous stuff before that, but this is really where you're sort of starting to build from, is this new EP, and there's 6 tracks on it. And if you don't mind, what I'd love to do is sort of go through each of the 6 tracks and maybe get a little backstory on them to give the listeners a better feel for who you guys are and how you develop your songs.
Definitely.
All right, so it kicks off with Unholy, correct?
That's right. And Unholy is our take of, it's kind of putting, like, into the light the dark thoughts that people have pertaining to death or harm or whatever, and it's kind of like saying, ignore that, in a way that we're saying, here it is in your face, but you don't have to listen to it. So it in a way, it's a very positive song, but it comes across as being very dark.
All right, well, in some strange way, that sort of goes 360 back to sort of that darkness and tragedy we were talking about that keeps befalling our beloved city there. So, because there is sort of that capability, if nothing else, for that darkness in each of us, and we all have those moments. So,
yeah, definitely.
Now, Inferno, which is what you named the EP after, is the second track.
That's right, and Inferno is about the inner struggles that you have and overcoming them. And that's, that's one of them where I really had no lyrical influence with Matthew on it. So that was all 100% Matthew. And the thing I like most about the song is it's just so straight from him and how he is just every day. So it's really about him just, like, overcoming, like, his obstacles in life. And he represents that with the Inferno metaphor.
Right.
So we just, overall, we thought that was the best track on the CD. It's the most melodic and the most meaningful to us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we titled the EP after it. And it's also the first song that we really sat down with an outside producer to work on. So that was a very a good experience for us, just as far as songwriting now and our approach to it in different ways. Right,
because previously you'd been doing most of the production work, right?
Yeah, it was the rest of the CD was just us. I did some producing work on it, just general layout or whatever of the song. But Inferno, we had Jamie Bartley come on and kind of rework some of the parts, make them a little bit stronger. So just through that whole experience on this new CD, I'm taking some of those things that Jamie taught us and applying it early on. So we're getting a lot stronger tracks a lot quicker.
Excellent. Now, the third track is actually a song that you guys have reworked in many forms, is my understanding. As a matter of fact, you even called it, the song is Dark Asylum, and you actually called it Dark Asylum 2.0 on this.
Yeah, it should be Dark Asylum 7.0. That's about as many versions of it as we've had. It was the first song that we wrote as a band, and like the first version of it was pushing about 7 minutes. Didn't really have good structure to it, you know. I mean, it had its verse, chorus, whatever, but it wasn't structured in a linear fashion. It would kind of jump around a lot.
Right.
So then we reworked it again, and it showed up on Perfect Enemy, and that was about 5 minutes long. And then I had a friend of mine, his name is Josh Bertrand. He came in, and it's kind of like the whole Jamie thing where he produced, like he said, let's take this longer, unorganized song, let's make it more radio friendly, and let me show you how to do that. So we did that and liked it so much that we just said, hey, let's finally do justice to this song, and we'll make a solid, what is it, like 3 minutes 30 seconds now or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot better, and then the chord structure for the chorus and stuff it makes sense now. So that's the version of the song that we're most proud of, and we love playing that one live because the harmony bridge with the guitars and the double kick, just people go wild at that point.
Well, that's a nice segue, because one of the other songs that's a fan favorite for you guys that everybody sort of goes nuts over is Welcome to Zombie Town, which, interestingly enough, was sort of the last song that you guys came up with after not being able to come up with a final track. I think you watched, the DVD of Zombieland or something, and you guys were like, hey, we got something here, let's write a tune, and that's what came out?
That's exactly what it was, because we had the music to it, and we had the recordings of it, because, that one was also on Perfect Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the music recorded already, and we're just sitting there. It was like literally the day before we had to go back in to do the final vocal tracks on it. And we're just like, well, we have nothing on this song. So we just watched Zombieland, started writing down lyrics that were, based on the movie, like the rules and stuff, and some of the key kills and stuff. And we sat there and we finished up, and we were just thinking, hey, is it even cool that we're doing this? Like, is the studio engineer, when we're laying down these tracks, just going to laugh at us and say, this is the stupidest thing ever? And, we did it, and that became the instant favorite for everybody just because of how comedic it is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people can always relate to fun stuff like that. That's the thing about rock and roll, is it can be very dark, it can be very mysterious and have that edge to it, but part of it's also supposed to be about the fun, and some of the greatest songs are the ones that just appeal to everybody in that way. So
definitely, and we've been working on a couple other tracks that are, along the same lines of it's just a let loose, everybody can have fun on this one. It's no real meaning to it, but it's catchy and fun.
Now, the next one, getting a little bit more serious, you guys actually shot a video for this one, is Finding Home.
Yeah, and that was the first track that we did for the EP, and we actually did it like about 6 months before we even started writing the rest of the CD. And that song came from a couple suicide tragedies we had at my high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Matthew's take on just the high school environment and how it changed so drastically because of the two tragedies. But we made the song in a way where it's not specifically saying what it's about, and you can kind of apply it to any kind of loss or tragedy of the sort. I think it stemmed around, it definitely stemmed around the two suicides at the school, but, we can definitely put it in place. Like, I know when we had the whole Jessica Ridgway thing here,
right?
A lot of people reached out and said, hey, Finding Home was definitely helped me, get past this a little bit. So the song is definitely very versatile for, what it can help you through. But that's where the song stems from.
And it's always so. It means so much to songwriters when something that you've written, words that you've come up with, impact people that way, that really touch them.
Yeah, because there was a few students when I was at the school, because we released that when I was still at the school.
Mm-hmm.
That they came up crying to me, and I was like, at that moment, I was just like, well, we've got something really powerful here, and we can be very proud of what it does and what it helps with.
So, and it makes for the whole EP sort of comes together very well because you've got the many different influences and sounds and stuff on there, and it really is sort of a complete little package. But it of course leaves you wanting a full album, which hopefully you guys will get a chance to put out sometime next year or something. But
yeah, we're right now writing. We're hoping for a very early March release on it.
So, well, now how does the songwriting process work in your band? I mean, obviously you have a connection with your brother to begin with, but how does it work in terms of the songwriting in the band?
Well, for the past 2 discs, what it was I would just kind of write the music, including the drums and the bass parts, and then Matthew would come in with vocals, or I would start some vocal things, and he would finish them up. So the past 2 have been kind of my brother and I mostly. This time we're working as a band for the whole writing process. So, when we come together today, we're going to start on a new song. So it'll be Sean, our bassist, and I kind of noodling around on guitars first to come up with like a riff or a hook or something. And then once we develop like the main core of what the guitar is going to do, our drummer Matt will build some drum tracks in Pro Tools for us. We'll record the guitar parts to it, and then we'll let Matthew do vocals, and then we'll come together and we'll all analyze the vocals and how it flows with the instruments, if the instruments need change. So it's really a more collaborative effort now, and because of that, we're getting far better songs.
And that's really the way it should be, because you get the whole voice of the band in there and everything. So now it's sort of interesting though, because you guys are so young. I'm sure it doesn't feel that way to you, but you guys have grown up in an era of Pro Tools, and you can literally put together a song on a computer and everything. Do you ever long for the opportunity to record in a more organic method where you can just like get in the studio and record live and do things analog or any of that stuff? Or are you guys pretty happy the modern digital route?
Yeah, I like the digital route for building demos, and especially with working with producers and stuff. Like when we were working with Jamie, we'd build a demo just at our Pro Tools station at home, SoundCloud it over to him, and then we can make notes and stuff in there. So I really like it for that, but I love the sound of analog, and I love, even if it's a Pro Tools like full studio, just taking it and mixing it on an analog console or something. So I think the goal for this one is we're going to build most of the songs just at our Pro Tools station, but when we come down to finalizing the album, we're going into a legitimate studio that has all the preamps and analog consoles and stuff, so it'll have a nice organic sound to it.
Right. Because as strong as the Inferno EP is and everything, you can really tell that if you had an opportunity to get into a full-scale studio and really put some time and effort into it, even those songs and those recordings could be much stronger.
Oh, definitely.
So
definitely. And I think my favorite technique that we used on the Inferno EP was Dark Asylum and Inferno. The drum tracks on there are a blend of sampled and live, and the rest of the album is just sampled.
Right.
So like those, just that technique alone, if we were to get into like a full analog studio, just the power that brings to the sound and the richness of it, it's definitely something that we're all excited about, going to venture into with this next thing.
Nice. So a couple of questions before we get out of here, just for fun. You got to do that wonderful In This Moment tour. Who, if you had your druthers, who would you love to go out on tour with next?
I personally would love to go on tour with Chevelle. They are currently one of my favorite bands. Just with their music kind of really touches me in a way that other music doesn't. And I think it's because none of their lyrics make any sense at all. It's just an interesting kind of just vibe from them, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff that they're doing, and they're definitely a band that, you know, I have a lot of respect for, and I think that they would be really fun to tour with. I know Matthew, you know, with that one Hatebreed show, he's on a little Hatebreed high now, so, you know, anything he can do with Jamie Joss, I'm sure he would love.
Hey.
For the rest of the guys, I really don't know what they would prefer, but I know those two for sure.
Hey, well, don't count that out, because Jamie loves working with a lot of people, so you never know, you know?
Yeah, that's what Matthew really likes about him, too, is that, you know, he's got all his side projects, but he's also, he'll dive into new music and new projects that come up.
Absolutely. If he's intrigued by it, he'll get in there and do it. Now, what is it that you guys are, aside from family and, of course, music and everything, what is it you guys are into outside of music? What do you guys do with your free time, such as it is?
Matthew and I are pretty avid video gamers. So, you know, lately we've been playing a bunch of Skyrim, which is a first-person sort of RPG game.
Right.
Slaying dragons and stuff, doing magic. It's kind of like World of Warcraft, but
right.
Got some more balls behind it. So that's what we do. We also have, you know, jobs that we do during the day. Summer and I work at a fundraising warehouse, packing up fundraising goods for elementary and middle schools, and
nice.
And Sean works at the Gap now, so we've definitely got the jobs going, and, you know, trying to get some money so we can get some better gear and, you know, maybe invest, you know, into that studio idea, you know, for the cost of that. So really a lot of our time is work, and Matthew and Sean are both finishing up their last semester of high school, so they're both graduating early so that this next year we can go a little more heavy with the touring schedule.
Yeah, obviously you got to have supportive parents there too, you know, to be able to go do that. I mean, you know.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, you're an adult, you can sort of do what you want, but for Matthew to say, "Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going on tour within this moment," yeah.
Well, our dad is our road manager too.
Well, there you go. It's all in the family.
And it's our parents are definitely the big backers of this band. Nice. So I know my dad and our drummer's dad on the tour, they would drive the entire time and coordinate, you know, when we need to get to the venue, where our gear goes, and our merch and all that. So
that's really cool.
Definitely, we have a lot of family support behind this from all the families in the band.
Excellent. So then last question, it's almost the end of the year. We're getting ready to do our best album articles and everything. Is there a new album that came out this year that's really sort of at the top of your list?
You know, it's going back to Chevelle. Although that was really last year. I don't know. Does it count if it came out December of last year?
Oh, it's right on the borderline. Is there something that's actually come out in 2012 that you're a big fan of?
You know, we did a show with Hurt, and they just released their album, The Crux, this year.
Uh-huh.
That one, really loved a lot. And then also 3 Days Grace's new one, Transit of Venus. I was really surprised by that one. Because, you know, Life Starts Now is a little more on the soft side, and they kind of amped it back up. It sounds more like their first album.
Right.
So I think those two definitely. And I'm always a sucker for the new Green Day stuff, just because it's so freaking catchy all the time. So
all right, you got to get 3 of those in like a 3-4 month period there. So
hey man, it's the best.
So I want to thank you, Andrew Whiteman, Red Tide Rising, Denver's rising young talents. Thank you so much for taking the time. We're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen for you guys in 2013, and we'll look forward to talking with you again real soon to stay up to date on what's going on.
Definitely. Hey, thanks for having us on, and thanks for, you know, playing our tunes and supporting us. It means a lot to all of us.
Absolutely. Keep it metal.